Well, it looks like it's time once again to talk Asian World Cup qualifiers. You guys know the drill by now. I go group by group and make predictions videos, but also group by group review videos every single international break. Today is Group A's turn, but soon on the channel, I'm going to have Group B and Group C, as well as other videos related to Asian football. That could be the upcoming Asian Cup, that could be youth tournaments, that could be player transfers, managers getting sacked, whatever I feel like. So if you don't want to miss all those videos, make sure you subscribe to Ball TV, the best channel on YouTube for Asian footy content. I have a trivia question for everybody today. Let me know your answer down below in the comments. I will come back to this and check who has the most ball knowledge. Let me know down below in the comments right now. Qatar and North Korea, how many goals do they concede combined during the March window? Now, the first game we're going to talk about is Uzbekistan versus Kyrgyzstan in Tashkent. Now, Uzbekistan already beat Kyrgyzstan away in Bishkek. That was a 3-2 scoreline, and it was probably a top 3 AFC World Cup qualifier so far, which is really ironic because Uzbekistan typically plays boring and pragmatic football, yet I would argue that they are involved in the two most exciting World Cup qualifier games so far. That is their 3-2 win against Kyrgyzstan and their 3-2 loss against Qatar. Are we about to see another 3-2 scoreline? I don't know. Probably not. That might be asking for too much. You're getting greedy now. Now, the storylines to watch for both teams are this. For Uzbekistan, does a new manager change anything at all? You guys may or may not know, but Qatar, who was the manager, had to step away from the White Wolves for health reasons. It's a very sad story. And in comes Timur Kapadze, who was previously the manager of the Uzbekistan U23 team, and I believe took them to their one and only Olympic appearance. With the Uzbekistan U23s, this guy was pretty successful. He made back-to-back U23 Asian Cup finals. Like, he did his job. Now, Katanich was stubborn as an ox, and he had a lot of critics, but he was a good manager. He was a bit of a bare minimum merchant at times, but he still got the job done. Now, with this new guy coming in, Kapadze, we don't really know what we're going to see. Now, my theory and what my thesis is going to be for Uzbekistan is that not a damn thing is going to change. Kapadze is going to come in. It's basically an internal promotion, right, versus an outside hire. The Uzbek FA, they can sniff the World Cup. They don't want to rock the boat. They don't want to come in and change tactics, change formation. They want the same old, just get us to the United States in 2026, which probably means we're going to see more boring, slow, pragmatic, but effective football from Uzbekistan. Now, for Kyrgyzstan, it's kind of do or die now. Group A is too competitive for them to wait any longer. If they do not get wins in this window, it's over. And it's probably over even for the 3rd and 4th spot. Like, if Kyrgyzstan walk out of March with 2 L's, I think they're done. Because Qatar, UAE, and even North Korea to a degree, they're going to keep the pressure on. So if Kyrgyzstan are even a moderately serious national team, they have to play for points in this game, which is a very scary thing. Now, what I believe is going to happen is their manager is going to shut up shop, keep it as tight as he possibly can until about the 75th minute, and then if they feel like they can go out and steal a 3 points in Tashkent, they might go for it. But honestly, I don't really rate Kyrgyzstan's manager at all. I don't think he's got that sort of tactical flexibility. I think at the end of the day, they're just going to lose his game. There's an argument for Kyrgyzstan to be the weakest team in round 3. I'm not totally ready to say that outright, but they're definitely a bottom 3 side in this phase of the competition. And outside of Bishkek, these guys continue to be pretty damn bad. They were decisively beaten by both UAE and Qatar on the road, and they conceded 3 goals in both of those games. Again, are they going to concede 3 goals again here in Tashkent? Probably not, but my prediction is Uzbekistan are going to win by 2 goals. And I'll just say, if Uzbekistan drop points here, if Kyrgyzstan can steal a draw, then I think the temperature in Tashkent is going to be turned up to flaming hot Cheeto, especially if the UAE get a win on the same match day. Then we have some problems. But I don't think that's going to happen. I'm feeling either a 2-0 for Uzbekistan or a 3-1, something like that. I think the Kyrgyz Republic plays with pride for the badge. They're just not a very good team. Next up, we have Iran versus UAE and Tehran. Now, in case you guys don't know, these two teams don't like each other. And more importantly, Iran really don't like the UAE. And outside of an Asian Cup semifinal match, anytime Iran really doesn't like somebody, they tend to get the job done. Iran have won back-to-back games against the UAE now. They beat them in the group stage at the Asian Cup 2-1, and then they beat them away in Abu Dhabi in, I think, match day 2 of round 3 of qualifying. And in both of those games, it was a pretty comfortable win for Iran. I know they won, 3-1 on aggregate. It was more decisive than that. The UAE, they just don't really have the tools necessary to beat an Iranian side, much less in Tehran. I just cannot see a world in which UAE even draw this game. I think they're going to lose. And here's like a mini storyline to watch here, which I bring up quite often here on the channel, is are the UAE actually good? Because I know everybody besides me seems to indicate the answer is yes, but I'm not buying 1 piece, 1 ounce of UAE stock. Like, I'm so sorry, but beating Qatar does not convince me at all that you are a good side. This is the same UAE that got obliterated by Uzbekistan and North Korea in qualifying. Now, if UAE got a draw here, I would really respect that result, but I don't know. I need more wins against solid sides before I can say the UAE are a top team in Asia. Iran has 1 loss all time in 20 meetings against the UAE. Are we about to see loss number 2 in match day 7 in Tehran? I don't think so. I'm kind of feeling Iran by 1 goal, something like a 2-1, but like a really convincing 2-1. Does that make any sense? Because the UAE are a very good defensive side. I don't think they're going to get cut open. Like, if Iran won this one 3-0, I would be pretty surprised. Not that Iran won, but that UAE conceded so many goals because their backline's been great. Issa, the goalkeeper, has been very, very good in qualifying so far. He's kept them in matches. He's kept certain results from being embarrassing. Maybe at most I see Iran winning 2-0, something like that. Now, the reason I'm going for the 2-1 instead of the 2-0 is because while nobody can stop Iran from scoring, like, they're just Mohebi, Azmoun, Taremi, they're just unstoppable right now. The defense is very stoppable, or should I say very leaky. That's probably a better way to say it. They don't keep clean sheets. In the UAE, they got some firepower. I wouldn't be surprised if they just, like, I don't know, nip a goal off a rebound, or Al Ghassani scores from outside the box or something like that. That might even be a mini objective for Iran in this game. I wouldn't be surprised if Galanoy was telling the guys, like, hey, I want the effing clean sheet, because we're not keeping clean sheets at the moment. But regardless, I think Iran get it done. Next up, we have Qatar versus North Korea. This is honestly a game where Qatar can go from we can finish top 2 to holy hell, are we going to get straight up eliminated in round 3 and not even make it to round 4? That is the difference between Qatar getting 3 points and North Korea getting 3 points in this game. Now look, Qatar, they suck defensively. There's nothing else to say. They brought in a new manager, a new Spaniard, and they continue to suck defensively. But they still have a better offense than North Korea, or maybe not a better offense, because I think the North Korean game plan, how they play, is already very aggressive. They just simply have better players. If Almoz Ali was the striker for North Korea, they'd probably be in 4th place, pushing 3rd in the group right now. So, like, as good as tactics are, at some point a manager just needs players who can do their effing job, and North Korea don't have that, unfortunately, and it really sucks because they're so fun to watch. They've been so good in pretty much every game outside of Kyrgyzstan away. They really struggled there. They are a very unlucky national team to be in last place right now. It boggles my mind, because performance-wise, they should be on 5 or 6 points. But that's the problem with these guys. They shoot, and they shoot, and they shoot, and the ball goes out of bounds. North Korea are the 2nd least clinical team in AFC World Cup qualifying, only behind Saudi Arabia. And that is what is going to give Qatar life. Also, can North Korea stop Akram Afif? Because so far, nobody's been able to stop Akram Afif. Not Iran, not Uzbekistan. Is the North Korean defense going to lock him down? I don't really think so. In fact, I don't think North Korea stopped any elite player that they ever come up against. Let's not forget how much Iran's front 4, if you want to call them, just completely feasted on North Korea in that away game. Now, there is real upset potential here. I have like a 30% probability that North Korea get a stunner, right? But outside of that, the remaining 70%, I kind of feel like Qatar are going to squeak by 1 goal in a shootout because they have the better players. And they also are playing at home. And outside of that awful UAE result, Qatar are still a good side at home, right? Let's not ignore the fact that they walloped Kyrgyzstan and they beat Uzbekistan at home. Those are really impressive wins. Is North Korea going to come in and punch Qatar in the mouth and steal 3 points here? I would be blown away. I mean, I would be super hype about it, don't get me wrong, but I just don't see that happening. The only thing I feel like I can guarantee is that we're going to see goals. And like, if we somehow get a 0-0 in this game, then I mean, I might have to deactivate, because that goes against every piece of ball knowledge and biblical knowledge that I believe I possess. Moving on to the second group of games, we have Kyrgyzstan versus Qatar in Bishkek. And holy hell, this game means so much. At this point, I should have said this earlier, but at this point in qualifying, this window in particular, after the 4-month break, this is going to make or break pretty much every single team except maybe Iran, because they're going to qualify. But the remaining 5 teams, I still think all of them are alive. And yeah, this game, Qatar, Kyrgyzstan, banger, smash the like button. Now, I kind of think Kyrgyzstan will already be eliminated at this point because of Uzbekistan beating them in Tashkent. But if Kyrgyzstan cannot take points here against Qatar at home, then oh my goodness, they might actually be the worst team in round 3. I know I'm really putting my neck out here, but I'm kind of forecasting another shootout, which really scares me because World Cup qualifying and shootouts, they don't, like, they're pretty rare. They happen, but not all the time. And I'm kind of thinking a shootout Qatar, North Korea, shootout Kyrgyzstan, Qatar, possible shootout Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan. Like, we're about to get hella 1-0s here. So my theory is that this game is going to look exactly like how North Korea versus Kyrgyzstan looked in Bishkek when Kyrgyzstan won 1-0. The only difference being Qatar have way better players than North Korea, and I do think that's going to be the difference maker. Like, having Akram Afif or Almos Ali finishing the chances instead of Kwang Sung Han, like, that's a big effing difference. If you guys don't know who that is, that's North Korea's striker, who's on 0 goals in round 3, by the way. So shout out to that gentleman. Now, why I say shootout is not just because of the leaky defenses of both of these sides, but Kyrgyzstan and Qatar are battling for the worst goalkeeper in round 3 as well. I think right now Barsham is probably winning that award, but Tokatev, he's right there, man. Like, the guy has had a couple howlers. And Barsham, I think, has the worst save percentage in round 3. Like, he's just been abysmal since the Asian Cup. Now, when Qatar played Kyrgyzstan in Qatar, they killed him. It was 3-1, could have been 5. Because Bishkek is a massive XP boost for Kyrgyzstan, I do believe this is going to be a competitive game, and I do believe Kyrgyzstan get a goal. I think Qatar are going to win this one 2-1 by a knife's edge. And I feel like a 2-2 scoreline prediction is just as safe, because Kyrgyzstan are well capable of scoring 2 goals at home, and Qatar's defense, yeah, they suck, and they got a terrible goalkeeper. Like I said, like, we have to see goals in this one as well. Similar to Qatar, North Korea, if this is a 0-0, I might have to deactivate, because I just wouldn't understand. I can't fathom, as of time of recording, how that could be a possibility. I mean, hell, it might even be a 3-2, like, I don't know. I just think we're going to see goals. Next up, we have Iran versus Uzbekistan. That's right, folks. For what feels like the 18th time in the last 2 years, Central Asia's 2 primary footballing powers are going to go at it. I mean, it's kind of crazy to me that Iran and Australia haven't played each other in like 30 years or something like that, and yet Iran and Uzbekistan play each other every other weekend. Like, I don't know if this is a conspiracy within the AFC where they're like trying to manufacture this CAFA rivalry into something that gets so heated, so intense that like diplomatic ties between the 2 nations are severed. I'm talking about like trade embargoes, no-fly zones, all that type of stuff. Because nothing else explains why we're having to watch this match as often as possible, but here we are. In my opinion, Uzbekistan continued to be so close yet so far away to Iran. And what I mean by that is every time these 2 teams play, especially recently, they are very even affairs, you know, depending on the level of competition, whether it's a senior, U23, U17, whatever. Sometimes Uzbekistan are even better than Iran, but they just can't consistently beat these guys. Really, they can't beat Iran at all. They've only beaten them once all time in the fixture, but they're in these matches, they get good draws, they just can't get wins. I was a bit brazen the last time these teams played in Tashkent. I was forecasting a Uzbekistan victory, something like a 2-1. And what we saw could not have been further away from that. In fact, truth be told, Uzbekistan were blessed that day to not lose. And to this day, I'm not really sure how Iran were not awarded a penalty late in that game. It was an extremely poor performance from Uzbekistan, and I would even say cowardly from the team and from Katanich. Like, honestly, I don't know if there's been a more disappointing fixture in the qualifiers so far. You guys let me know in the comments. Because Uzbekistan-Iran should be a blockbuster, and it was in round 2 when there was the 2-2 draw between these two sides, but we just don't see that often enough. This should be a fixture that puts asses in seats for Asian football. And anyways, I'm going to get off my soapbox, but yeah, I'm not going to make that mistake again when it comes to the prediction. Now, in terms of my prediction for this game, there is a slight chance, and I'm talking 5% or less, that Uzbekistan could beat Iran in Tehran. And the only reason I'm saying that, honestly, is because, one, this is football and crazy things happen all the time. And number 2, Uzbekistan have already done that. The only victory they've ever had against Iran was in Tehran. I think it was 2012. Carlos Queiroz was the manager. It's been a long time. And if Uzbekistan could do that, I'm not kidding, that would be one of the shocks of round 3 of qualifying, because Iran don't lose games in this stage, and they really don't lose games at home. They have one of the best home records of any team in world football. So for Uzbekistan to get this would be freaking massive. And I just think they're going to park the bus. And so a much more likely prediction, I would say 40% chance there's a draw here. Uzbekistan bunker down, boring as hell. They get out of there with a 1-1 or a 0-0. And then the 40% chance, or I guess 37% chance, is Iran win this game by 1 or 2 goals. I think if they score 1, it could open up the game. The Uzbeks will have to go for it. And at that point, hopefully we see a couple goals like we've seen before. But much more likely, I think, a controlled victory from Iran. Nothing that's going to blow people away from the box score. Maybe the Uzbeks can snatch something, but I'm just not falling for that again. And finally, we have North Korea versus UAE in a neutral venue, of course. And I think it's time to drop my hottest take of the video. I think North Korea are going to win. And my reasoning is this. I do not think that the UAE have looked good really at all away from home outside of a 30-minute segment in the second half against Qatar, when Qatar just completely capitulated. I mean, the goals that the UAE scored in that game were also absolute bangers from outside the box, so I just don't think that's going to happen again. And the last time these two teams met, it was a 1-1 draw, true, but you actually watched the game, you would know that North Korea pretty much dominated the UAE in Abu Dhabi. Like, as a North Korean sympathizer, I was watching the game with stars in my eyes because they had the UAE pinned back and they were just blitzing them over and over and over again. And the only reason that the UAE did not lose that game is Ice is a beast and he saved the penalty. And also, Yahya Al-Ghassani's shot goes through the goalkeeper's hands for North Korea. It's an individual howler. And even though I think the UAE are a talented national team, I think what's going to hold them back in this game ultimately is going to be Paolo Bento. I don't really think he's going to go for it. And if you go for it against North Korea, you're going to score goals because that defense ain't great. The goalkeeper ain't great. But that's just not Bento's style, especially not away from home. He's a super conservative manager. He's probably going to hope that they can get out of here with a 1-0. And he's going to sit back and just let the defense, which is strong, do its thing. And so I don't really have reason to believe that this is going to be a drastically different performance from what we saw between these two sides in Abu Dhabi. North Korea dominating, they just can't seem to score goals. And honestly, if they score more than 2 goals in any game in this cycle, I'll be blown away because they just misfire way too often. And again, if you guys have been watching all the games, you know that North Korea have performed pretty well. Like, I can say that only Iran kind of batted aside North Korea. Everybody else, I mean, especially Uzbekistan, really struggled with these guys at times. UAE struggled. Qatar struggled. So, again, I just think it's only a matter of time before North Korea beats somebody in round 3. And I think the UAE coming to a neutral venue is probably one of the best opportunities they're going to get outside of Kyrgyzstan. And being somewhat of a Bento hater, I think this is a perfect time for me to forecast a win. So I'm forecasting North Korea by 1 goal. Let's call it a 2-1. And that is the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed this Group A prediction video, which was totally not filmed over multiple days. Don't forget that trivia question at the beginning. How many goals do North Korea and Qatar concede combined? Down below in the comments, I will shout you out on Twitter if you get it correct. And also on the Instagram, you can find all the links to our social media down below in the description of this video. Another reminder that Group B is coming soon, then Group C, possibly a couple other AFC related videos, and then group summaries for all 3 after the window closes. So don't miss that. Don't miss all the Asian footy content here on Deadball TV. Hit subscribe. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next one.